Well, making a little bit of a faster exit from camp today. You know, I did get to bed at 12:30 because I didn't roll until camp till after 9. So I have 120 kilometers to do in 2 days. I'm feeling kind of stressed out about it, but this yummy hot oatmeal is making me feel warm and snuggly inside. Depending on the current and the peel, I might have to forgo my coffee in the morning and just like pound a bunch of like granola bars for breakfast so I can get on the river faster, because having to light a fire and boil water and all that in the morning takes a lot of time. I have my Garmin 66i, which is an inReach satellite texting device, as well as a GPS, but one of the things that it does is that it can actually give me a basic weather report for my location, which is pretty cool. So I woke up and it was overcast, so I was thinking, oh no, it's going to be pissing rain today as I paddle 60k. Well, it's like 10% chance of rain, and then tomorrow's 0% chance of rain, followed by 0% chance of rain, sun, and partially cloudy. So it looks like I'm gonna have some beautiful weather stacked up for the rest of this trip. And that the other reason that's good is that means I'm not going to get weathered in at my pickup point. They call it Taco Bar. No one really knows why. Someone was eating a taco there once and it doesn't even look like a taco, but it's a place where people, where a float plane will pick you up from the Wind, Snake, and Bonnet Plume River. So you got to paddle down the peel to a place where a float plane can land. Yeah, I talked to someone who is completely weathered in for 4 days straight, and they luckily had a little bit of extra food. Apparently the fishing's not good there, and because they couldn't get picked up by a float plane. So it's looking like weather-wise, I'm gonna be all right on that front, but I have 60k on the Bonnet Plume, a little more than 60, followed by 60k on the peel. So I got my work cut out for me over the next couple days, that's for sure. Well, 120 kilometers, a little more than that actually, and 2 days to do it in. I busted out my shorter paddle because I can paddle faster with it. Here we go. Will I make it on time? 9:30 in the morning I got away from camp, not bad. The earliest I ever got out of camp was 9. Oh, finally we got a little sun, and we're just paddling through a little burnt country here. You can see all the fireweed and standing dead burnt trees. A few sweepers here. Paddle, paddle, paddle. Making good time today though. Good current, no headwind. So far anyways. Yeah, this Werner journey is just an awesome paddle. My whitewater paddle is the Werner Bandit in fiberglass, and I choose fiberglass for wilderness trips over carbon fiber just because of the durability it provides. But the carbon fiber one is lighter and really ultimately better just from a performance standpoint. And this journey is fiberglass too, so it's a pretty tough paddle, and it does have a pretty wide blade, so if I was to lose my whitewater paddle in a rapid, this one could double as a whitewater paddle if I needed it to. but it's shorter and therefore it's just better for paddling flat water, paddling long distances. It's called the Journey, and I've taken this paddle on some journeys with me before, and happy to bring it on another one here too. So yeah, I really like the feel of it. Tricky navigating in some of these tight bends and these narrow braids. No idea which braid I'm on, but there's sweepers, and when the current from two different braids meet at opposing angles, you get a lot of boils and whirlpools and weird currents and stuff. So really you got to be on your toes all the time going through this stuff. And as good as the current is, it's also so weaving that 60K, that's the way the crow flies. So weaving back and forth, I wonder how many K I'll really be doing by the end of the day. Probably quite a bit more. I'm traveling about 10K in 2 hours, but if you look at how fast I'm going now, I'm definitely going more than 5 kilometers an hour. So you can kind of use that as a baseline to judge how many kilometers I'm really going, because I'm probably actually moving more like 8 to 10 kilometers an hour, which would almost double the distance compared to the way the crow flies, because of all these bends and weaves of this braided river. So somehow got myself into a sketch side braid here, tangled log jams and sweepers everywhere. Still just don't know where the heck I am on a map in this winding, narrow side channel with ripping current, log jams and sweepers everywhere. I hope this doesn't mean I'm traveling way out of my way. However, the current is strong, so I'm moving pretty quickly, but it's kind of sketchy. I don't know how the hell I got into this thing. You know, maybe all the channels are just like this, but this is pretty advanced. Try to keep my eye on the map and have an idea where I am so I can stay with the main channel is a good idea, but sometimes it's pretty freaking challenging to have an idea where you are with all these braids and then no real mountains to guide me either. Country's opening up. I can see some mountains in the distance. I bet you they're on the other side or down by the Peel. There's kind of a ridge along this side of the river, and I can't see the mountains of the Rankle Range anymore back from whence I came. So I've just dropped down that much in elevation since last time I looked back. Well, I just stopped to stretch the old legs. Still in these braids, still in a little bit better of a braid now than I was before. I was in some crazy little side channel being swept through all kinds of ripping current and tight bends and sweepers everywhere, but Still trying to make my way back to the main channel. And I think I'm only about 15 kilometers from the Peel River. Can you believe that? So I should be there. It's like 3 in the afternoon right now, so I've been making better time than I thought. My time has actually picked up substantially since when I left camp this morning, so that's great. So I'm hoping I'll definitely be able to put some clicks behind me on the Peel, and it's looking like there's a chance I'm gonna make it. Of course, the Peel could be like really slow and 60k might be impossible, so we'll see what it's like when I get there. Crazy, just intricate how all this braided river is, and it's challenging to sort of figure out exactly where you are. So you know, I've got that pretty dialed in right now, about 15 clicks away, which I'm excited about. So should be there within I don't know, the next couple of hours anyways. Then I continue on down the Peel. Well, that's starting to look more like a river. Which branch to stay with though? There's something you want to avoid. Oh, whirlpool. Oh. Two braids in the river are just colliding and creating a 2.5 foot high boil with ripping whirlpools behind it. Probably would have dumped if I went into that. Gotta be on your toes, man. Gotta be on your toes like a ballerina. Dip, 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 dip. Well, there's a real freaking channel of the river, finally. After being on a bit of a side adventure. Trying to make my way back here. Well, a wicked headwind just blew up, spun me backwards. So I'm just basically front faring, trying to stay with the main channel. Ride out the last few kilometers here of the Bonnet Plume. Still pretty lively. Running a class 1 now. There's been currents and boiling whirlpools and tight turns and all kinds of challenging braids with swift current right to the very end. There's a little backwater eddy here, and the water in it is like absolutely crystal clear. The Bonnet Plume essentially is clear. It's just carrying so much sediment with it that as soon as it stops moving, that sediment sinks to the bottom and you get this very clear water, unlike some rivers which are inherently muddy with tiny little particles of mud that are going to remain foggy even when they sit. You can see here that the Bonnet Plume is quite clear compared to the moving part, which is more of a gray kind of brown color. Because of that sediment in the water, you don't want to like filter it or necessarily drink too much of that sediment, but you can just let it settle. So when I've been boiling water and then in the evenings and then using that the next morning, all that sediment in my pot will be at the bottom and I'll pour off the top and I'll have that crystal clear water. So, but if you're just going to filter it, let's say with a pump or whatever, you're going to want to put a coffee filter over the intake of your filter, just with a little elastic or something, because all that sediment's just going to gum up any water treatment filter. But anyways, yeah, I pulled over here again. I am about 5 kilometers from the Peel River. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon. There's a huge fan of braids at the mouth and I'm like way too far to one side than where I want to be. If I come out on the west side of the big fan at the delta of the Bonnet Plume, I'll have quite a bit of a distance to paddle. I think it's over 3 kilometers wide than if I'd come out at the east side, but whatever, what can you do? I'm just basically taking the channel that has the most water in it, and this is sort of where I wound up, so I don't know really if I could have done anything much different. Looking forward to getting her done though. Should be anytime soon now. We'll pull out onto that Peel River. Holy crap. Challenging. Like, look, do I go through there? That looks sketchy as I'm gonna have to try to get through here. Now I'm hung up on the gravel bar. And now there's a huge boil here. Push me into that f***ing stick, man. God, how do I keep getting into these horrible channels, man? I just want to get to the Peel already. Oh man, I can almost see it. Feel like we're in the final stretches here. Really interesting obstacle course of log jams and sweepers there. Well, I just finished paddling the Bonnet Plume River and I'm now floating on the Peel. I got another 70 kilometers to go to the mouth of the Snake River to await my floatplane charter the day after tomorrow. And I am feeling pretty good. The river challenged me. I was on my toes right into the very end. The scenery was just incredible with rugged mountains, incredible campsites. The rapids were scary, very, very pushy, very challenging rapids and swift current around every corner. Portaging was very hard too, but it took me around some beautiful, beautiful canyons with amazing views. I managed to see a good amount of wildlife, 3 moose, a caribou, several Dall sheep, which are pretty rare to see. And I even hiked up a little bit and panned for gold a lot and learned a little bit more about that, which was an amazing experience. So I was nervous for sure going into it because I knew it was an advanced level whitewater river and I knew some of the dangers and challenges. But now that I'm sitting here finished floating on the Peel, it just all makes it that much better of a feeling that I've done it. So awesome, awesome river, and I'm excited for the rest of my trip here on the Peel. I'm supposed to be going through a canyon right now too, so I'm a little concerned that the current is not as strong on the Peel, so I'm not going to make that kind of time, but I'm also not going to be terrified about getting swept into a sweeper at any moment. It's a safer river, wider, and the current's half decent too, so here's hoping I can bang off 60K in the next day and a little. Well, I am pretty plagued by headwinds right now. Not making it anywhere fast, a fraction of the speed that I was going on the Bonnet Plume. So that's concerning, but all I can do is paddle. That's what I'm going to do. Wow, that headwind was brutal, but it looks like the Peel has good current, and now that I've turned, that wind is actually sort of a bit of a tailwind, but is actually blocked by these spectacular cliffs right here, so that's pretty good news to say the least. And so yeah, I'm just gonna basically, let's see, hopefully I can bang off a solid 20K. Maybe that's asking for a little much considering pretty late and I'm already exhausted and already paddled over 60 today, but I'm gonna give her a go. the peel, and I literally can't control my boat at all, and it's just feeling really sketchy. So I basically need to try to cross the river and get to shore. I'll round this little corner here and see if it makes any of a difference, but I doubt that it will. So I might pull up on this gravel bar and just wait it out. Well, I have been waiting out the wind here on this random gravel bar before this tight canyon on the peel. I really couldn't control my canoe anymore. I was almost blowing upriver, and between the downriver current and the wind blowing upriver, it was getting just scary without even being in a rapid. I think I'm going to go for it. The wind's died down. It's still pretty strong, but I've thrown a boulder in the bow of my canoe just as an attempt to try to trim it more evenly so the wind won't want to weather vane me and point my spin me 180, pointing my bow upriver and sending me down the canyon backwards. I also put my dry suit on just because I don't see any contour lines crossing the river on the map, and I don't see any marked rapids, but there's a lot of volume in this river and it's all being pushed through a tight pinch spot at the head of this canyon, and I do see some current in there, potentially some rapids. I also saw footprints on the other side of this gravel bar, which looked like someone jumped out and had a look into the canyon, so they might have an idea that there are some rapids there. So the canyon's 5 kilometers long without anywhere to get out, so if I was to dump at the beginning, let's say there's a rapid that I wasn't expecting, I'd have to swim 5 kilometers, so I definitely want my dry suit on because there's nowhere to get out of the water. If the wind is too strong as I approach, there's another gravel bar on the left that actually has access to shore and maybe is a little more protected, so I'll just jump over there and camp there for the night. Actually, it looks like probably not a bad place to camp. Absolutely beautiful stretch of river there, and some nice big rollers to cap it all off. Awesome. I didn't realize the peel would be so awesome as well. It's even more beautiful than the lower stretch of the Bonnet Plume, I'd say. Just making my way along the peel here. It's about 10 at night, and the peel has been freaking beautiful. Just canyons almost from the minute I put my bow into its waters. Pretty challenging at first with the headwinds there, and trying to run rapids with a blasting headwind was pretty miserable, but that wind died down for the most part, and it's been pretty smooth sailing and nice current, just enjoying every second of it, looking up at the cliffs as I paddle beneath them. Getting pretty exhausted though. I've been on the water for 12 and a half hours today, and have done almost 80 kilometers, which will give me 40k left to do tomorrow. So barring, 40k is going to be a full day, but I'm going to be able to do it as long as I don't get a vicious headwind or general terrible weather of some sort, or the current just goes completely slack. So I'm basically going to just round the next corner here and see if I can find a nice flat gravel bar amidst these towering cliffs and just crash for the night. Don't need you anymore, Boulder. Or you. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna get the tent set up and grab a couple more things from the boat and call it a night, but this has turned out to be a pretty nice spot after all. Really pretty too. I am tired. I was on the water paddling for 13 and a half hours today. Got on the water at 9:30. Had pretty freaking good time. I'm not exactly sure how much I did all in, but I think I did 80 kilometers. So pretty good current despite the parts where the tailwind was kind of messing with me pretty big. But yeah, the Bonnet Plume, man, it didn't want to let up. I was guided into these small channels and braids, and the current was ferocious and like constant action, basically. It was almost like the whole thing was like a rapid almost. Still, I'm amazed with how beautiful the peel is. I didn't realize the peel was going to be this dramatic. I didn't really have a very close look at it. I just, thought it was going to be flatter. I didn't know it was going to have these crazy canyons and cliffs and everything like that. Anyways, I'm just going to pull out some smoked mussels. I know what you're thinking, Jim, you have enough mussels as it is, but I'm going to eat some smoked mussels and go to bed. I'm going to do some advanced bushcrafting here. Watch and learn from the pros, kiddies. Well, I guess that's about it for me. I'm going to finish these up, wash this tin off in the river, and hike my food barrel safe distance away from camp, and finally go to sleep. Oh, it's going to be so wonderful. Can't wait. I love sleep.